Imagine walking away from a $15 million home and a billionaire husband while 7 months pregnant. Isabella Sterling did just that. With only a suitcase and a secret plan, she left her diamond ring and a 12-word note that would ruin a powerful man. The mistress who thought she'd won had no idea what was coming. The wife who vanished was about to prove that saving yourself is the ultimate power move. This is a story about a woman who knew her worth. Stay with me to find out what happened next. This story will show you that walking away is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of self-love. If you have ever felt trapped, invisible, or like you have lost yourself in someone else's life, this story is for you. At 5:47 that morning, a pregnant Isabella Sterling walked out of her Manhattan tower with one suitcase. The doorman, Marcus, wished her a good trip. She gave him a sad smile he would never forget and thanked him for everything, then got into a cab and disappeared. Hours later, her husband Richard woke up. He reached for his wife, but the bed was empty and cold. In 6 years, she had never been gone when he woke up. An uneasy feeling grew as Richard searched their quiet penthouse. In the bathroom, her toothbrush was gone, a small detail that sent a chill down his spine. Then he saw it on the kitchen island. It was a note with his name on it, written in her perfect script. The message inside was short and brutal. "I am gone. Please do not look for me. Our son deserves a mother who knows her own name." Beneath the note was her 3-carat wedding ring, now just a meaningless piece of jewelry. He read the words again, confused. He called her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. He tried her mother, only to hear a message saying she was on a cruise for 2 months and could not be reached. The timing was a punch to the gut. For the first time, Richard felt true fear as he sank to the floor. So, how did they get to this point? Just 48 hours earlier, Isabella had woken up alone in that same bed. A note from Richard on his pillow simply said, "Early meeting, back late." There was no good morning, no I love you. It was efficient and cold. 7 months pregnant, she placed a hand on her belly. Her son kicked, the only one who seemed to notice she was even there. While eating breakfast, a society blog notification popped up on her phone. It was a photo of Richard at a gallery opening. He was laughing with a beautiful redhead in a green dress, looking intimate and familiar. The woman was Chloe Winters, an architect working for his company. Then Isabella saw it on her nightstand. A single emerald earring, the exact same shade as the dress in the picture. This was the third piece of evidence she had found in 3 months. But this time, she felt no anger, just a deep, soul-crushing tiredness. She had stopped caring enough to fight. Looking in the mirror, she saw a polished, perfect, and completely empty society wife. She did not recognize herself anymore. But that was about to change. In 48 hours, Mrs. Sterling would be gone forever. Meanwhile, Chloe Winters was on the phone with a friend. He promised he would tell her after the deal closes, she said. "She is just the incubator. I am the real partner." On her laptop was a folder of photos of Isabella, always looking polite and distant. "Beauty without ambition is just decoration," Chloe said. She then opened a file named Operation Sterling. Richard was not just a man to her, he was the final prize. Chloe planned her takeover with precision. She created scheduling conflicts to isolate Isabella from her husband, Richard. She left personal items in their home to create doubt. Then she arranged a photo op with Richard, ensuring the press saw them together. Her goal was to dethrone the queen, but Chloe was fighting for an empty throne. Weeks earlier, Isabella had already chosen freedom over a gilded cage. She had simply vanished. This is the story of how a powerful man's obsession destroyed one woman and created a ghost another was desperate to become. But to understand the end, we have to go back to the beginning. 8 years before, Isabella Marlowe was a brilliant legal aid lawyer in Brooklyn. She fought for people who could not afford justice. Her tiny office and small salary meant nothing compared to the joy of helping others. One day, she represented a young mother, Maria, who was facing eviction. Isabella took her hand and made a promise. She told her, "We are not going to lose this fight." In court, Isabella was unstoppable. She dismantled the landlord's case, winning a victory for Maria's family. That feeling of purpose was everything to her. To make ends meet, Isabella also worked as a caterer at fancy Manhattan events. One night, while serving champagne, she accidentally bumped into a man named Richard Sterling. The drink spilled all over his expensive suit. He was handsome, powerful, and the center of attention in any room. As Isabella apologized, Richard barely noticed the stain. He was looking only at her, with an intensity that took her breath away. He introduced himself, and in that moment, their two very different worlds collided. He told her that her server's uniform did not suit her. Isabella was immediately on guard. Richard, however, was charmed by her defiance. He believed everyone wanted his world of wealth and power. She corrected him, saying, "Not everyone measured life by money." Intrigued, he asked her to dinner to prove her wrong. She should have refused, but the way he looked at her made her feel seen for the first time in years. That powerful attention was like a drug. She agreed to just one dinner. But one dinner turned into a whirlwind romance. He seemed to understand her, buying her law books instead of jewels, and charming her sensible mother. Still, her mother offered a warning. She told Isabella, "That world changes people. Make sure he still sees the real you in 5 years." 6 months later, Richard proposed with a flawless diamond ring. Their wedding was a massive society event. Isabella believed she was stepping into a fairy tale, not realizing she was trading her identity for a polished, smaller version of herself. The change was slow and subtle. Richard dismissed her career ambitions, calling her passion a waste of time. He said her true purpose was to support him and his empire. Each time she gave in, she lost a small piece of herself. He would criticize her volunteer work at her old legal aid office, saying those people would drain her. Over time, the small surrenders added up. Eventually, Isabella stopped talking about her dreams, and Richard stopped bothering to ask. By their 5th year of marriage, she found out she was pregnant. When she told Richard, his joyful response was chilling. He called the baby an heir, not a child. It was just another asset for the Sterling legacy. A year later, she was a ghost in her own life, smiling for cameras and hosting parties. Then, she found a hotel receipt from a night Richard claimed to be working late. A quick, quiet phone call confirmed his affair. Her tears stopped and a new resolve took over. She pulled out a legal pad and began to plan her escape. For 18 long months, Isabella Sterling had been planning to disappear. It all started with a notebook labeled Exit Strategy. She became a ghost in her own marriage, using that invisibility to her advantage. Every day, she carefully withdrew $500, hiding the cash in places her husband, Richard, would never look. She even opened a secret bank account under her old name. She knew this was her only way out from a life of quiet injustice. Isabella Sterling would soon cease to exist, making way for Anna Marlowe. With a burner phone and a new identity, she was ready for a fresh start. The urgency came when she found out she was pregnant. Richard only called the baby his heir, confirming that her son would grow up in a cold museum, not a loving home. She packed a small bag with only her most personal belongings, leaving behind the hollow life of Mrs. Sterling. She made one final call to her mother, who simply told her, "I am proud of you." That support was all she needed. 2 weeks later, Isabella was at her final doctor's appointment alone. Richard was supposed to be there, but sent a text instead. He was closing a deal and just assumed she would understand. As she watched the ultrasound of her healthy baby boy, his absence solidified her resolve. That same evening, Richard was at dinner with his mistress, Chloe. They were at the very restaurant where he had proposed to Isabella. He coldly told Chloe that the prenuptial agreement was airtight and his wife would get nothing. They toasted to a future built on betrayal, completely unaware that across town, Isabella was finalizing her escape. She was about to give herself the new beginning she deserved. From another table, a board member named Robert Sinclair watched them. He had seen Isabella's spirit fade over the years and knew Richard's cruelty was the cause. Robert understood that this was a battle Isabella had to win for herself. The stage was set for her final act. That Saturday night, Isabella stood in the kitchen of the penthouse, preparing one last meal. She cooked coq au vin, his favorite dish, one they shared on their honeymoon in Paris. When Richard came home, he reeked of Chloe's perfume and was busy on a call with her. He didn't notice the special dinner or his 7 months pregnant wife. He simply took the plate she served him while continuing to talk business, a perfect stranger in their home. He ate without looking up, his focus entirely on his phone call. Finally, he commented that the food was good, but had no idea what it was. She reminded him it was the dish from their Paris trip. He looked blank. He did not remember. In that moment, Isabella knew he had forgotten not just the trip, but her as well. This was why she had to leave. At 1 a.m, with her bag in hand, she made her move. Suddenly, a text message from Chloe lit up Richard's phone. He stirred. Isabella froze as he asked what she was doing. She lied, saying the baby was kicking and she couldn't sleep. He just mumbled for her to take a sleeping pill and immediately fell back asleep, confident his wife would be there in the morning. He was wrong. To Richard Sterling, people were objects to be owned, not partners who could leave. That was the injustice Isabella lived with. For the sake of her unborn son, she was about to break the rules. She watched him sleep, her heart pounding, before quietly slipping out of their penthouse. At 4:30 in the morning, dressed in an old hoodie, she was no longer Mrs. Sterling. She was just a woman, desperate for freedom. She left a note on the kitchen island that said, "I am gone. Please do not look for me." This story is about reclaiming your life. And if you have ever felt trapped, you will understand her journey. On top of the note, she placed her 3-carat wedding ring, a symbol of broken promises. The only thing she took was an old honeymoon photo, a reminder of the hopeful woman she once was. In the lobby, the night doorman, Tom, looked up, surprised to see her. His questions made her mouth go dry. She quickly invented a story about a surprise visit to a friend in Connecticut. He seemed suspicious, but finally nodded, letting her walk out of her old life and into the pre-dawn quiet of New York City. She never looked back. At the Port Authority bus terminal, the fluorescent lights felt harsh and unforgiving. Isabella kept her hood up and paid cash for a one-way ticket to Chicago, leaving no trail for Richard to follow. The 20-hour ride ahead felt like a journey to a new country. Then she saw her own polished face staring back from a magazine cover. She looked like a complete stranger. A man in a suit nearby did a double take, about to recognize her, but the call for her bus saved her. She ran, her heart racing, and found a seat in the very back row, hidden from the world. As the bus pulled away, Isabella felt a wave of relief so powerful it brought tears to her eyes. An older woman sitting beside her offered a kind smile. "Running from something, honey?" she asked. "I did the same thing 30 years ago. Left a man who thought I was just another piece of his furniture. It was the best decision I ever made." The woman's words were a comfort. As the skyline disappeared, Isabella Sterling vanished with it. In her place, a woman named Anna Marlowe was heading west, terrified but finally free. Meanwhile, Richard Sterling's alarm went off at 7:52. He reached across the bed for his wife, a habit from 6 years of marriage, only to find cold, empty sheets. Isabella was never gone when he woke up. She was as predictable as the sunrise. He called her name, the silence in the massive penthouse amplifying his growing unease. He found her toothbrush missing, a tiny detail that sent a chill down his spine. Something was terribly wrong. In the kitchen, he saw the cream-colored stationery on the island. His name was written in her perfect script. The note inside was short and brutal. Our son deserves a mother who knows her own name. Beneath it, her diamond ring sparkled, cold and final. He read the words again and again, but his mind couldn't grasp them. His perfect, controlled world had just ended, and $1 billion could not fix the damage that was coming. Weeks later, Anna Marlowe was living in a small coastal town in Oregon. She ran a little bookstore and was trying to build a new life. She met a local handyman named James, a kind widower raising his daughter alone. He noticed her struggling with heavy boxes and insisted on helping. He told her he was building a crib for another baby in town and offered to make one for her, free of charge. In this town, he explained, we take care of each other. His simple kindness made Anna cry. Imagine being so powerful that you think you own your wife, only to find a note saying she's left to find her real name. This is the story of a woman who vanished to save herself, and what happens when the man who lost her finally realizes the truth. Where did she go? Richard Sterling's world shattered. His wife, Isabella, couldn't just disappear. His frantic calls went straight to voicemail. Her mother was also unreachable, conveniently away on a 2-month cruise. The doorman, Marcus, said he saw her leave at 5:30 in the morning with a suitcase, heading to visit a friend. The key word he used was calm. She wasn't running away in a panic. This was a plan. Richard collapsed against the kitchen island, clutching the note. For the first time, he felt a primal fear that had nothing to do with money. He had lost something irreplaceable. At 9 in the morning, his mistress, Chloe, walked in carrying coffee. She found him on the floor, a broken man she barely recognized. The powerful Richard Sterling looked completely shattered. Without a word, he handed her the note. Chloe's expression shifted from surprise to excitement before she quickly masked it with fake concern. Gone? What could that possibly mean? She left and she took our son, he said, his voice empty. Chloe sat beside him, her mind racing. This was her chance to become the new Mrs. Sterling. She placed a hand on his arm and asked if Isabella had seemed unstable. She suggested that pregnancy hormones could cause a breakdown. Richard clung to the explanation. He agreed they should keep it quiet to protect Isabella's reputation from the press. But Chloe's real motive was to protect herself. If the world found out why Isabella left, Chloe would be seen as the villain. But across town, an investigator was already reviewing files Isabella had left behind. These files detailed the crimes of Richard's company, showing how it harassed and displaced vulnerable families. His wife had not just left him. She had been secretly fighting him for years. By 10 in the morning, Richard had hired the best private investigator in the city, Frank Harrison. By noon, Harrison was in his office, listening to the story. He quickly discovered that Isabella had opened a secret bank account 18 months ago, slowly withdrawing cash. She had saved up about $182,000. Richard was stunned. Harrison continued, explaining she bought a bus ticket with cash that morning. Disguised in a hoodie and jeans, he slid a security photo across the desk. Mr. Sterling, your wife didn't just run away. This was a military-grade escape plan she had been working on for over a year. Each word felt like a punch to Richard. For over a year, While he was with Chloe, Isabella was plotting to leave. "Find her," Richard ordered, but Harrison was doubtful. He explained that people this prepared are hard to find, and courts usually side with pregnant mothers fleeing a bad situation. The investigation revealed Isabella's secret life. She had an old apartment in Brooklyn and post office boxes in 3 different states. They were always 2 steps behind her, chasing a ghost. Richard fell apart. He stopped working and spent his nights parked outside her old apartment. One night, a homeless man asked if he was okay. "I lost my wife," Richard said. The man nodded. "Maybe she lost you first." Those words haunted him. Richard started to remember how Isabella had grown quieter over the years, how her smile faded. He realized he had turned a vibrant woman into a decorative silence. He had crushed her spirit with his cold ambition and casual cruelty. On day 12, a lead sent Richard Sterling scrambling to a tiny Missouri town. He was desperate for any sign of his vanished wife, Anna, but he was too late. The post office clerk said she had closed her box weeks ago, forwarding her mail to Oregon. He was always 1 step behind, chasing a ghost 2,000 miles away. Back in his penthouse, his mistress Chloe was already erasing Anna, planning a cold renovation. What Chloe didn't realize was that Richard's mentor, Robert Sinclair, was watching her. He was quietly tracking her calls, piecing together her web of manipulation. On day 18, the quarterly board meeting arrived. Richard was meant to present his greatest career achievement. Instead, he showed up looking like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. He was unshaven, exhausted, and hollowed out by grief. Robert begged him to postpone, but Richard refused, determined to push through. The presentation fell apart almost immediately. A concerned board member asked if he had heard from Isabella. That simple question broke him. Richard started laughing, a raw and unhinged sound that silenced the room. He screamed that his wife was gone, and he didn't even know if his unborn son was alive. The powerful billionaire then collapsed into his chair, sobbing like a child in front of everyone. He cried for everything he had built and everything he had lost. The 15 board members sat in stunned silence, witnessing the complete psychological collapse of their chief executive officer. In the back of the room, Chloe watched in horror. This pathetic, broken man was not the powerful partner she had schemed to win. Robert stood and took control, ending the meeting immediately. He told Richard the harsh truth. "You never loved her. You only loved how she looked on your arm." That evening, Richard was admitted to the hospital for a severe psychiatric crisis. When Chloe visited, playing the part of a caring partner, Richard finally saw her clearly. He told her to get out. He realized she was there for what he had built, while Isabella left because he had destroyed who she was. As Chloe's careful plans turned to dust, Anna Marlowe was 2,000 miles away in Oregon. She felt her baby kick and smiled, unaware of the destruction she had left behind. She was focused only on the new life she was bravely building. 3 weeks after leaving Manhattan, a pregnant woman stepped off a bus in Astoria, Oregon. She was 8 months along, exhausted, and almost out of money. The small coastal town felt a world away from her old life, but her relief vanished when no motel would take her cash without a credit card or identification. With no options left, she spent that first night in an $800 car, crying softly and apologizing to her unborn child. On her 3rd morning, desperate and tired, Anna saw a sign for a public restroom in a bookstore. She went inside, hoping to just wash her face and feel human for a moment. The shop was cozy and smelled of old paper. The owner, an older woman with sharp, kind eyes named Margaret, saw her distress. When Anna came out of the bathroom, Margaret had a cup of tea, waiting. This simple kindness made Anna break down and cry. Margaret, a retired lawyer, said she knew a woman on the run when she saw one. Anna explained she was not hiding from the law, but from someone who treated her like property. That was good enough for Margaret. She offered Anna a clean room above the shop in exchange for work. She said someone had once helped her the same way, and now it was her turn. For the first time in 6 years, Anna cried herself to sleep with tears of hope model. Now calling herself Anna, Isabella was working in a small bookstore in Astoria, Oregon. The locals were curious about the pregnant newcomer, but gave her space. The store owner, Margaret, understood. She told Anna that people in small towns know when to mind their own business. Anna still had nightmares that Richard would find her, but Margaret reassured her. Finding a pregnant woman who has disappeared into America, she said, is like finding one specific grain of sand on a beach. You are safe. Soon, Anna met another pregnant single mother named Grace at a clinic. Grace was friendly and direct. "Are you running from someone?" she asked. Anna was shocked it was so obvious. Grace just smiled. "Honey, I am from Georgia. I know a woman on the run when I see one." They quickly became friends, talking for hours about being single mothers and starting new lives. It was the first real conversation Anna had had in years. For the first time, she felt like a person, not just an accessory. As Grace left, she said, "You are good people, Anna. Stick around." Anna smiled and replied, "I plan to." Her new life was just beginning. One night, a violent storm hit the coast. The wind howled, and the rain poured down. In her small room above the bookstore, Anna's water broke. It was 2 in the morning, and she was all alone. She called Grace, her emergency contact, who promised to come right away, but the storm had flooded the roads, making them impassable. Anna was trapped, about to give birth by herself as the storm raged outside, facing the first true test of her new, independent life. In a small room above a bookstore, Anna Marlowe gave birth during a fierce coastal storm. 3 strangers became her family that night. A midwife named Grace coached her through the pain. An older woman named Margaret sterilized towels. A quiet man named James calmly guided her. Together, they brought her son into the world. At 3:47 in the morning, Leo Marlowe was born healthy and free. Holding him, Anna cried with joy and overwhelming love. He was finally safe. James brought over a handmade cradle and welcomed the baby to his new life. Margaret gently touched Anna's shoulder and asked, "What is his name?" Anna smiled, looking down at her baby. "Leo. It means lion, because he is brave." Margaret shook her head. "You gave birth during a storm without a hospital. You are the brave one." The next 6 months were the happiest Anna had ever known. She worked at the local bookstore with Leo sleeping in a carrier on her chest. The town embraced them, leaving meals on their doorstep and offering to babysit. She and another new mom, Grace, raised their children together, forming a deep friendship. A local man named James was always around, finding excuses to help and read stories to Leo. One evening, as they watched the sunset on the beach, James looked at Anna. He told her, "I do not know what you are running from, but you are safe here." He leaned in, but Anna pulled away gently. "James, I am not ready." He simply replied, "I will wait." On Leo's first birthday, the entire town celebrated with them on the beach. Margaret baked a cake shaped like a lion, and James taught Leo how to skip stones in the ocean. Watching them, Anna's heart felt full for the first time. That night, as she put Leo to bed, he looked at her and said his first word clearly, "Mama." Anna held him close, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Yes, baby, Mama is here." She believed she had finally found safety, a true home built on courage instead of wealth. But far away in a Manhattan office, a private investigator named Frank Harrison was searching birth records. He found one that caught his eye: baby Leo, born in Astoria, Oregon. The mother's date of birth was an exact match for Isabella Sterling. Harrison made a phone call. "Mr. Sterling, I found her." Anna's perfect new life was about to be destroyed. For 18 months, her husband, Richard Sterling, had been in therapy, trying to understand why his wife had to run away from him. He was finally learning how his arrogance and ambition had ruined their marriage. He told his therapist, "I treated her like a piece of art I owned, not a partner." Just then his phone rang. It was Harrison. Richard's heart pounded as he answered. "Astoria, Oregon. She has the baby. A healthy boy, 18 months old. His name is Leo." Richard's world stopped spinning. "Are you sure? The birth certificate matches. It is her. What do you want to do?" His therapist frantically shook her head, telling him he was not ready. But Richard was not listening. He had a son. He had missed 18 months of his own son's life. "Send me everything," he ordered, already looking up flights to Oregon. He ignored his therapist's warnings, convinced he was ready. 2 days later, Richard sat in a rental car across from a small bookstore. He watched as Anna, who now called herself Anna Marlowe, came outside laughing, with a tall, kind-faced man. She was pushing a stroller. Richard's blood boiled with jealousy. Then he saw the little boy in the stroller, who had Richard's dark, curly hair. The boy pointed at the man and said a word that shattered Richard's world. "Dada." "Dada." That single word from his son's mouth shattered Richard's world. The boy was calling another man Dada. From a distance, Richard watched this stranger push his son on a swing, sharing a genuine happy smile with Anna, his wife. They looked like a perfect family, something Richard had never managed to create. That night, breaking 18 months of sobriety, he made a call. He told his lawyer to file for full and immediate custody. He had money and power. She worked in a bookstore. He was going to get his son back. Despite the lawyer's warnings, Richard was determined. The next morning, he entered the small bookstore, and a woman named Margaret Sullivan approached him with tired eyes. He asked for Anna Marlowe. The coldness in his voice made Margaret wary. Just then, Anna came downstairs, holding their son, Leo. When she saw Richard, the color drained from her face, and her arms tightened around the boy. Recognizing the danger, Margaret quickly took a confused Leo upstairs for cookies, leaving the estranged couple alone. The silence was heavy. Finally, Richard spoke her real name, Isabella. She told him that name was no longer hers, hers. He said he was there to meet the son she had stolen from him. Anna's anger flared. She had not stolen Leo. She had saved him from a father who only wanted an heir, not a child. Richard dismissed her accusations and handed her an envelope. It contained custody papers. He planned to sue for full custody, citing fraud and parental interference. He brutally reminded her that he had the resources to win, while she had a low-paying job and a fake identity. Anna trembled, insisting Leo did not know or need him. She explained that another man, James, had been Leo's father in every way that mattered, every single day. Richard's face was cruel. He coldly stated that legally he was the father, and he was taking their son back to New York. As he walked out, Anna's world collapsed. She sobbed on the stairs as Margaret rushed to comfort her. The lawsuit became public a week later when a local paper ran the headline, "New York City Billionaire Sues for Custody of Oregon Toddler." The town immediately turned on Anna for lying about her identity. Her friends, however, stood by her. James urged her to stop running and fight back. Then came a surprise. Margaret announced she was coming out of retirement. She revealed she had been a family lawyer for 30 years, winning over 200 custody cases. She would represent Anna for free. Margaret prepared for war. She gathered evidence of Richard's neglect and lined up witnesses. The trial began with Richard's team of 5 expensive lawyers facing Anna and Margaret with a single legal pad. Richard's lawyers powerfully argued that Anna had maliciously denied a loving father his son. They presented witnesses who spoke of Richard's commitment to change and the wonderful opportunities he could provide. The evidence against Anna looked overwhelming. Her fake ID, the secret bank account, and photos that suggested she had happily moved on. Anna felt hopeless, but Margaret told her to trust the process. When Anna took the stand, she looked directly at Richard and explained why she left. She said their marriage was spiritually killing her. Margaret then presented proof. Records of Richard's 12 missed prenatal appointments and his near total lack of communication. Anna declared she left not to punish Richard, but to save herself and their son from a life of emotional emptiness. Richard's lawyer attacked her for fraud, but she held her ground, explaining she had used her legal maiden name and that James had stepped up as a father because Richard had chosen not to. The trial took a dramatic turn when Margaret called a surprise witness, Sarah Sterling Martinez, Richard's sister. Richard's face went white. Sarah testified that their family was defined by emotional absence. She revealed that when Richard first learned about Leo, he had called him an heir, not a son. That, she said, told the whole story. Her words finally broke through Richard's armor. Betrayed and ashamed, he suddenly stood up, silencing his own lawyer. He confessed that his sister was right about everything. Looking at Anna with true remorse for the first time in years, he admitted he had suffocated her and had never earned the right to be a father. In a stunning reversal, Richard addressed the judge. He withdrew his petition, explaining he no longer wanted to take Leo, but instead wanted to earn the right to be his father if Anna would ever let him. The judge's final decision was clear. Anna would have primary custody of Leo. Richard Sterling would be allowed supervised visits, which could increase only after a year of family therapy and parenting classes. The judge looked directly at Richard and said, "Fatherhood is earned through presence, not by force. You now have a chance to earn it." The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. At the community center, Anna stood nervously by the door. Richard arrived for his first visit carrying expensive toys, including a teddy bear bigger than Leo. Leo, who was now 2 years old, took one look at the stranger and hid. "No," he said firmly. "I have Dada James." Richard's face fell. All his money and planning meant nothing. A woman supervising the visit told him, "Put the toys away. Just sit on the floor and be present." Richard sat down, feeling foolish in his expensive suit. Leo ignored him and started playing with an empty cardboard box. Richard cautiously asked, "Can I help you build your spaceship?" Leo thought for a moment, then nodded. For the next hour, they built a spaceship together, and Richard even made rocket sounds. To his own surprise, it felt natural. When Leo laughed, the sound was the most beautiful thing Richard had ever heard. The visit ended with a small wave from his son. It was progress. He laughed. Richard told the supervisor, his eyes filled with tears. She nodded. "Because you showed up, keep showing up." And he did. For the next 3 months, Richard showed up for every single visit. He learned to read picture books and build towers, just so Leo could knock them down. He sold his penthouse in Manhattan and moved into a small house near Portland, filling the walls with his son's drawings. He quit his company, attended every therapy session, and took parenting classes, finally learning that being a father had nothing to do with money. 6 months in, Richard finally earned daytime visits with his son. He would pick Leo up from Anna's house, and they would spend the day doing simple things like making pancakes. One morning, Leo called him Daddy Richard. Not just Richard, but not quite daddy either. It was a title he had earned. Richard wept in his car afterward. He told his therapist it felt like a gift he did not deserve, but one he would spend his life trying to be worthy of. Anna watched him change. It would have been easier to stay angry, but she saw him making a real effort. He even built a surprising friendship with James, the other man who loved her son. One evening, James turned to Anna. He said he loved her and Leo, and he was ready to build a life with her, but he needed to know she was ready too. Anna looked at the man who had been a constant, steady presence, asking for nothing. She said yes. 3 years after the trial, they married on a beach. Leo served as the ring bearer, and even Richard was there, watching with genuine happiness for them. At the reception, Richard quietly thanked Anna, not for forgiving him, but for letting him earn his way back. She simply told him, "You did the work. You showed up." That was all that ever mattered. 3 years after her own life fell apart, Chloe Winter stood outside Anna's law office. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by something from a discount store. Her perfect hair and nails were a distant memory. After Richard fired her, her reputation in Manhattan was destroyed. She was blacklisted, the woman who manipulated a billionaire and tried to ruin his marriage. Her attempt to sue him failed miserably, draining her savings. She lost her apartment and had to move back home with her parents, working a dead-end job at a mall. She had become everything she spent her life trying to escape. Then she saw a newspaper article about Anna winning a major case. Anna looked like everything Chloe had once been and everything she had lost. When Anna walked out of the building with her 5-year-old son, Chloe knew this was her only chance. Anna saw her and her face became a mask. She sent Leo inside. "You have 2 minutes," she said. Chloe's story of failure and desperation came pouring out. "I lost everything." Anna's voice was cold. "And you want my sympathy?" Chloe shook her head. "No, I want you to understand that we both just wanted the same thing." Anna gave a short, bitter laugh. "We wanted nothing alike. We both wanted to matter," Chloe insisted. "You chose the right way. I chose the wrong one." "You chose to destroy another woman to get ahead," Anna corrected. "That is not ambition. It is cruelty." Tears welled in Chloe's eyes. "I know," she whispered. "I am so sorry." After a long silence, Anna asked her why she was really there. Chloe admitted she saw Anna thriving by being honest and realized it took more courage than anything she had ever done. Anna looked at the broken woman before her and saw a cautionary tale. She told Chloe about a women's shelter that needed an architect for a new wing, pro bono. "It is volunteer work," Anna explained, "but if you do a good job, I will give you a reference." Chloe was stunned. "Why would you help me?" "Because someone helped me," Anna replied, "and because you have a chance to be someone different. Do not do it for me. Do it for the next woman who needs help." A few weeks later, Chloe stood at the construction site with hand-drawn blueprints. The shelter director loved them. She said Anna told her you were worth a chance. The director then looked her in the eye and said, "Now earn it." And for the first time in years, Chloe felt a glimmer of hope. She would earn it. That evening, Anna sat by a bonfire on the beach, surrounded by the family she had chosen. James was with the kids, and even Richard was there, happy, and part of their strange, blended group. Grace sat beside her. "You are a completely different person than you were 3 years ago," she said. Anna shook her head. "No, I am the same person. I just finally found her again." Richard came over after Leo ran off to play. He told Anna what a great kid Leo was. "You did that," he said. "You raised him to be kind." "We all did," she replied. After a moment, she admitted she never regretted leaving him, only that it had to happen the way it did. He said, "I regret all of it." Leo called out to them, "Mama, Daddy, Richard, come see." They walked toward their complicated, beautiful family. He had two fathers, both earned through love and presence. He had a mother who saved them both. As the sun set, Anna felt a deep sense of peace she never knew in her old life. This was real. This was home. Margaret, her old friend, raised her mug from across the fire in a silent toast. To women who save themselves, and the communities that catch them. Anna raised her mug back. The fire crackled, and her son's laughter filled the air. Anna Marlowe, who was once Isabella Sterling, was finally, truly home. Her law office was on the same street where she once slept in her car, terrified and alone. Now, Anna's life was full, helping women escape the very life she fled. A young mother with a bruised eye and a toddler on her hip walked in, her voice a whisper, "I need to disappear." Anna understood that fear. She pulled out a small frame from her shelf. It held a note she wrote 5 years ago. "I am gone. Please do not look for me." She showed it to the woman. "This was my first step. It worked." Hope sparked in the woman's eyes. "You really got out?" Anna smiled, pointing to her law degree on the wall. "I am here, aren't I? Now let's get you free." Anna grabbed a legal pad. "My name is Jessica," the woman said. For the next 2 hours, they built an exit strategy. Anna explained how to open new bank accounts, secure documents, and find supportive communities. "The first night is the hardest," Anna told her, "but you are not running away from something. You are running toward a new life." Jessica clutched her daughter. "What if he finds me?" Anna reassured her, "You will have a network of people to protect you. You save yourself, but you do not have to do it alone." She handed Jessica a folder with phone numbers for shelters and my own direct line. "Call me anytime. There is no charge. Someone did this for me, and now I am paying it forward." Later that day, Anna watched her son Leo's soccer game. Her chosen family filled the stands. There was James and Lily, Grace with her partner, and even her ex-husband Richard with his new wife Jennifer. They all cheered when Leo accidentally scored a goal for the wrong team. Everyone laughed, especially Leo. This was the childhood he deserved, one full of joy and free of fear. After the game, they all got ice cream. Leo tried to convince his two dads to let him have a sundae, but Anna and Richard stood together as a united team. "One scoop," they both said. Later, Richard walked beside Anna. "Thank you," he said softly. "I know I say it all the time, but I am not just thanking you for forgiveness. I am thanking you for showing me what real love looks like." He motioned to their blended family, laughing and talking together. "You built this. I grew up with money and rules. You showed me what true wealth really is." "It took leaving you for me to see what I had become," Richard admitted. "You did not just save yourself and Leo, you saved me too." Anna looked at him, the man he was now, and replied, "You have thanked me by becoming a father Leo can be proud of. That is more than enough." That night, she tucked Leo into bed in their cozy little home. He was safe, happy, and loved. "Mama," he said sleepily, "tell me the story about when you were brave." Anna smiled. "Once upon a time, a woman lived in a big, beautiful castle, but felt very small. When she found out she was having a baby, she knew she had to be brave. So she left the castle on a great adventure to find a place where they could both be free. 5 years ago, a wealthy woman named Isabella Sterling vanished from a Manhattan penthouse. She was a trophy wife, trapped in a golden cage, slowly losing herself. She thought leaving was an act of cowardice, a complete failure. Now she understood it was the bravest thing she had ever done. This story proves that walking away is not giving up. Sometimes it is the only way to find yourself. If you feel trapped, remember that you are stronger than you know, and you deserve to be free. The woman who vanished became Anna Marlowe. The past could not be changed, But the future was hers to write, and she was writing it one day at a time, teaching other women the lessons she learned during her darkest hours. She built a life on her own terms, under her own name. She had found a purpose, a community, and a love that was not conditional. Anna, formerly Isabella, went to sleep each night in a house that was hers, with a son who was free, knowing she would help save another woman tomorrow. On the 5th anniversary of her disappearance, Anna sat on a beach in Astoria. Her son, Leo, laughed as a wave destroyed his sandcastle, and he immediately began to rebuild. She thought not a single regret. In those 5 years, Anna had secretly helped 43 women escape their own cages. It was an underground railroad of survival. Some she never heard from again, which was the entire point. They had found their freedom, just as she had. A friend named Jessica, her most recent success, had just sent a text. "I am scared, but I am free. Thank you." Anna's new life was full and happy. Her law practice had grown, specializing in helping women in crisis. She and James had been married for 2 years, celebrating with a small ceremony on that very same beach. They were a blended family, messy and real and full of love. James ran a successful furniture business, and their daughter, Lily, was already taller than Anna. Her mother, Eleanor, and her friend, Margaret, had become close, two survivors from different generations bonded by strength. That afternoon, her ex-husband, Richard, arrived for his weekend with Leo. He had sold all his properties in Manhattan and now lived nearby. His new wife, Jennifer, was pregnant, and in a surprising turn, they had asked Anna and James to be the godparents. The request had moved Anna to tears. It was proof that healing was possible. As she watched Richard and Leo drive away, her son felt secure and loved by all the adults in his life, a family built not on biology, but on safety and respect. That night, Anna gave a talk at Haven House, a women's shelter. She looked out at the 20 women gathered and told them a simple version of her story. She spoke of a marriage that became a cage and a disappearance that became a rebirth. "I'm not going to lie and say it was easy," she said. "The first few months were the hardest of my life. I slept in my car and cried every single night, second-guessing everything I had done." She paused, then continued. "But I kept going, and I found people who helped me. A bookstore owner with a spare room, a community that protected me without asking questions." A woman raised her hand, her voice trembling. "What if he finds me?" Anna met her gaze. "Then you have a community that protects you. You have legal resources. You have people who have survived what you are going through. You are not alone. That is the most important thing to remember. You are not alone." Driving home along the dark coastal highway, Anna thought about all the versions of herself she had been. The passionate law student, the young wife, the ghost in a penthouse, and the terrified mother sleeping in a car. All of those women still lived inside her, the broken pieces and the rebuilt whole. She was a testament to the power of walking away to find yourself. At home, James was waiting. "You're changing lives, you know," he said. Anna smiled. "I'm just showing them it is possible." "And you are so remarkable, Anna Marlowe," James said, pulling her close later that evening. She loved her name, a name that was all her own. It was not tied to her past or to any man. "I am just a woman who walked away," she said. "Yes," James replied gently, "and that is the most remarkable thing of all." That night, Anna dreamed of all the women she had helped, spreading out across the country to find their own freedom. She dreamed of the simple note on cream paper that started it all, the most powerful words she ever wrote. The words that gave her life back. The next morning, Leo, now 5 years old, woke her up. "Mama, it is pancake day." She hugged him tightly, breathing in the sweet smell of her little boy. They made breakfast together, A perfect, normal morning she had fought so hard for. Afterward, Anna walked to her office. Her journal noted she had helped 43 women find their freedom. At 10 o'clock, number 44 was scheduled to arrive. A woman named Sarah who had driven 5 hours to ask one question: is it really possible to escape? Anna looked at her framed note, and she knew exactly what she would say. Yes, freedom is possible. I will show you how. With a mix of nerves and joy, Anna smiled and asked, "Can I help you?" Now, 2 years later, the Astoria Community Center was packed. People filled every chair and stood along the walls. A reporter and even the mayor were there. Anna, 7 months pregnant, stood at the podium. Her husband, James, sat in the front row with their son, Leo, and daughter, Lily. Nearby were Richard and Jennifer with their little girl. 7 years ago, I came to this town with just a suitcase and a heart full of fear. I slept in my car, terrified that I had made a terrible mistake for myself and my unborn child. She looked out at the faces in the crowd. Some were women she had helped, like Jessica, who drove 12 hours from Montana to be there. Other women she did not know, but they knew her as the lawyer in Oregon who understood their pain. I am here today because this community saved me, she said. The Marlowe Foundation will now return that favor. The foundation would offer free legal aid, safe relocations, and job support for women escaping abuse. Our first scholarship is named for someone who taught me that even those who hurt us can change, Anna announced, looking at her ex-husband. The Richard Sterling Transformation Scholarship will fund therapy for men working to break cycles of abuse. She explained her belief that hurt people hurt others, but healed people can heal others. Richard's eyes filled with tears as he silently mouthed, "Thank you." Later, as the sun set over the river, her former rival, Chloe, joined her on the deck. "I heard about the scholarship," Chloe said. "That was incredibly generous." Anna shook her head. It was honest. The real enemy was a system that taught men to possess women, and taught me my only value was in being a wife. Chloe admitted quietly, "I was part of that system. I am so sorry." "Are you happy now?" Anna asked. Chloe thought for a moment. "I am not rich or important, but my work matters. I design shelters for women. So, yes, for the first time I think I am." Anna smiled. "That is all I ever wanted for you." A small voice called from inside, "Mama, Daddy James says it is time for cake." As Anna turned to go, Chloe stopped her. "Thank you for giving me a chance to be better." Anna replied, "You did that yourself. I only opened the door." 3 months later, their daughter was born. Sarah Grace Marlowe arrived peacefully on a spring afternoon. James cried as he held her for the first time. 7-year-old Leo gently touched his new sister's hand. "She is so small," he whispered. "You were that small once," Anna told him. "Did you love me this much then?" he asked. "More," she said. "I loved you so much, I left everything to keep you safe," Leo nodded. "Because love is brave." "Yes, honey," Anna agreed. "Love is brave." The next day, Richard visited with a beautiful handmade cradle. "I missed all of this with Leo," he said sadly. "I know," she replied softly. "I earned that loss," he said. "But I am grateful you let me earn my way back." Richard looked at baby Sarah and saw his own mother's nose. His eyes widened when he heard her name. "You named her after my sister?" Anna nodded. "Your sister was brave, and our daughter should have a name that means courage. Thank you," he whispered, "for showing me what I had become and letting me change. You did the hard part." Later, Anna held her daughter close. She remembered the terrified woman who planned an escape in a closet 7 years ago. "Your brother was born in a storm," she told the baby, "but you were born in peace. That is what happens when you are brave enough to save yourself." 5 years later, A filmmaker wanted to tell her story in a documentary about women who escape abuse. That night, Anna called Richard. They were friends now. A filmmaker wants to put my story on screen, she said. He asked if she would use her old name, Isabella Sterling. I have not been Isabella in 12 years, Anna said. Richard replied, Isabella always looks sad, but Anna Marlowe looks free. Anna agreed to the film, but only if they protected the identities of the women she helped. The film, The Women Who Walk Away, won awards and started a national conversation. During a private screening, her 14-year-old son Leo told her, You are really brave, Mom. Anna corrected him gently. I was really scared, but I did it anyway. That is all bravery is. Her 7-year-old daughter, Sarah, then announced, I am going to help women too. Anna hugged her. You can be anything you want. That is the whole point. You get to choose. 10 years after she vanished, the ripples of Anna's courage had changed everyone. Anna Marlowe ran the most successful women's advocacy firm on the West Coast. Richard Sterling, a changed man, started a foundation for men's mental health and was a dedicated co-parent. Chloe, the woman he had an affair with, now designed women's shelters, sending Anna a card each year thanking her for the path to a new life. Margaret, the bookstore owner who first helped her, wrote a best-selling memoir, and James continued to be their rock, building over 200 cradles for the babies of the women they helped, a promise of safety for each one. On the 10th anniversary of her escape, Anna stood alone on a beach. She remembered the terror of leaving in the dark and every hard step that led to this moment of peace. The woman she was and the woman she had become were finally one. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number read, You do not know me, but I need to disappear. Can you show me how? Anna smiled and typed back, Yes. Come to my office tomorrow at 10. You are not alone. As the sun set, she knew the fight was not over. The wife who vanished was a memory, but the woman who walked away was still here. Isabella Sterling was gone. Long live Anna Marlowe, and every woman brave enough to find her own name. This story carries a powerful truth. Your worth is not defined by your marriage, your husband's wealth, or the role someone else gave you. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from everything that looks perfect on the outside, but is slowly destroying you on the inside. Anna's journey proves that starting over is not failure. It is freedom, and you are never too trapped, too pregnant, or too scared to save yourself. If this story touched your heart, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, please share it with them. Your like and comment help more women find stories that remind them of their strength. And if you have not already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that could change your life. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to bring you meaningful lessons and inspiration. Thank you for being part of this journey with us.